Welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays wherever you may be across the country. Probably not the case if you're Bills fans, and I apologize to Bills fans because I'm going to dive into what happened in that game quite a lot. I got a bunch of takes, and we will discuss. But in the meantime, look, we got the big game between the Eagles and the Bills coming up, and now or never to bet on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks. Best place to win cash picking the big games. And again, Eagles, Bills going at it. Prize Picks also giving away a free pick for the game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw for a yard, and you will win. We'll give you that pick next week as it gets closer. We'll be down. Much of OutKick will in New Orleans for that game. You can check out the promos tab to check out any of those. And if you have a really great outcome, you could win up to $1 million part of the Bills-Eagles festivities. Download the app today. Use code OutKick to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code OutKick for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right. I want to dive into a bunch of different stories today, but I'm going to start with the AFC Championship game. Let's leave aside for a minute the NFC Championship game, although I will say, again, in general, what I saw in the NFC Championship game was Washington, which has a very good future with Jaden Daniels, was the beneficiary of creating a bunch of turnovers against both the Bucs and the Lions. And they rode that momentum from creating those turnovers into the NFC Championship game behind the great signal calling of Jaden Daniels. The problem that they ultimately ran into, however, was what happens when you're the team that's turning the football over. You can't get past that. And so the Eagles pulled away, took advantage of Washington being the team that's turning the ball over, and were able to ride that to victory. But the big storyline here is the AFC Championship game. And I want to talk about this for a moment. And I want to start by just giving Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes all the credit in the world. He is now going for his third straight Super Bowl title, something that Tom Brady never accomplished in his illustrious career. And Mahomes is taking square aim at Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time. And if Mahomes gets his fourth Super Bowl win next weekend, then I think you can start to argue Mahomes is going to catch Tom Brady and he's going to pass him. That's assuming Mahomes stays healthy. Obviously, it's football. There's lots of moving parts. But remember, Tom Brady had basically a full decade after he won his first three titles where he didn't win another Super Bowl. So if Mahomes gets to 4 this quickly, I feel like he's easily got 10, 12 years of still being an elite quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to win multiple additional Super Bowls, which is why I want to make the case here, and I'm just going to straight up say it. Mahomes is Michael Jordan right now. When Mahomes is Michael Jordan, for those of you who do not remember the Jordan era, Jordan won 6 out of 8 titles, and the Houston Rockets won 2 championships, I believe, only because Jordan decided to take those 2 years off. If Jordan had played those 2 years, I think Michael Jordan would have won 8 straight titles. There were a lot of top 50 all-time basketball players. John Stockton, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, Shaquille O'Neal before Jordan left. Those of us who were Gary Payton, those of us who were diehard fans back in the day of the Jordan era NBA, Patrick Ewing, if I didn't mention him, Reggie Miller, none of those other guys won titles. And it wasn't because they weren't really, really good basketball players. It was just because they happened to overlap with the Jordan era. I feel like we may have to have that discussion about Josh Allen, about Lamar Jackson, about Joe Burrow. We'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts. It may not be anything about those guys that is a negative at all. It may simply be that Patrick Mahomes is Michael Jordan. And we don't now, in retrospect, nobody looks back and says, boy, Patrick Ewing, he's a failure because he didn't win a title. By and large, nobody says that. Nobody says that about Karl Malone or Reggie Miller or John Stockton or Charles Barkley. Because really, if you were a basketball fan, you look back and say, Jordan was just the best. And those other guys happen to have the misfortune of having the same basic birthday as Michael Jordan, and as a result, they were never able to advance and get championships. I wouldn't say that about Kobe. I wouldn't say that about Shaq. I wouldn't say that about LeBron James, because there have been a lot of other guys who have won titles. LeBron has had a great, incredible, long-lasting career. He's never had the stranglehold on the NBA that Michael Jordan did. Jordan, at his peak, dominated the NBA far more than any other athlete in my life in a team sport now, has dominated his sport. It's never happened. Until now, I think you can start to make the argument maybe Patrick Mahomes. And some of you are going to say Brady again. Brady had a decade in the middle part of his career where he didn't win any titles, where he lost to Eli twice when he got to the Super Bowl. That's a long period of time. Brady had 2 Hall of Fame careers in his 20s, basically, and then in his late 30s into his 40s. Brady, either one of those standing alone, would have been Hall of Fame careers. And so I believe as you break all this down, as much talk as there's going to be about Josh Allen, as much talk as there's been about Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, every other quarterback that's around the same age as Patrick Mahomes, I think we have to start to ask the question, is Mahomes Jordan? And if that is true, should we stop holding Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and that world to the standard of not being able to beat Michael Jordan? That's what my lesson was coming out of this game. That is big picture. All right, let's go to the specific game itself. Bills got screwed on one incredibly important 4th down play call in the 4th quarter. I believe we have a still image of it, if we can pull that up right now. I think I sent it to Haley. All right, there it is. You can see a couple of things that I think are significant here. First, to me, on this replay, Josh Allen has the 1st down. At this point in time, the Bills were up 22-20 and were driving to potentially take a 2-score lead. Officials say the Bills don't get the 1st down here. Almost immediately, the Chiefs take possession. It might have been 22-21, whatever the score was. And then the Chiefs drive down, score. I think they got the 2-point conversion. Am I right about this? It was 29-22. And by the next time, the Bills got the ball back. I believe I'm correct in all that. I think they got the 1st down. I want you to look. I think you can see on the right side of this picture, and it's a little bit away from me, so guys, text me if I'm wrong about what you can see here. I believe you can see the 2 different officials coming in and where they are marking the football. The official who actually has the worst view, you see this happen a lot. So, first of all, it's a challenge to mark the football. We all know that, right? But the linesmen on either side, there's one guy on one sideline, there's another guy on the other sideline. A lot of times, if you pay attention, you will see those guys mirror each other. They look and see, okay, where's this guy got the ball marked? Where do I have it marked? And a lot of times as they jog in towards where the ball is located, they end up mirroring each other because they basically are coming to an agreement on where the football should be placed. In this particular fourth down play, one of the linesmen has the Bills with a first down. I think he had the right spot. He had the better view. The other linesman has the Bills short of the first down. For one reason, and I don't know why, the linesman that actually had the better spot ended up deferring to the linesman with the worst spot, and then they go to the review. Now, on the review, I still think you can see the Bills got the first down, but once they said they were short, it's very hard to overturn, unless it's egregious, the spot that they agreed to before. So the flaw here was in the jog in, because I think if they had said it was a first down, it would have stood as a first down. And if they had said it was not, it would have stood as a not first down. The problem the NFL has is this is continuing what is seen as a very beneficial whistle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Mahomes is Jordan. When you are Jordan, you put yourself in a position to win a lot of games. And so there are things that are done that later in retrospect aren't as analyzed as they should have been. For instance, on fourth down on his last pass play, I believe it was Dalton Kincaid, he has to catch that fourth down pass. The Bills' offensive line, however, was not aligned correctly to block, and it forced Josh Allen to have to make a really rapid read and, frankly, a spectacular throw to even give his team a chance to get the first down. How about the decision and the choices to go for two? Kicking the extra point there earlier in the game certainly could have mattered a great deal coming down the stretch also. Having said all of this, Mahomes to me is Jordan, but unlike Jordan, I don't find the Chiefs incredibly compelling television. And I don't find personally a rematch against the Eagles to be a game that I'm ecstatic to watch. I wanted to see the Bills win. I wouldn't have minded seeing Washington win. Right now, we're dealing with a situation where the NFL, which is supposed to be parity-laden, is instead dealing with a lot of the same teams all the time being in a position to win. And let me hit you with this to kind of finally bring home exactly how impressive this Chiefs run has been. The Chiefs have won 17 straight one-score games. That's the longest streak in NFL history. It's not your imagination thinking, boy, the Chiefs sure do manage to win every close game. Mahomes has been an NFL starter for 7 seasons. The worst finish of his career as a starter is losing in the AFC Championship game, and both times that has happened in overtime of the AFC Championship. The other 5 seasons, he's taken his team to the Super Bowl. Let me repeat that. Patrick Mahomes has been a starter for 7 years. This is why I say he's like Jordan. He's been to the Super Bowl 5 of those 7 years. The other 2 times, he has lost in overtime of the AFC Championship game. Let's talk about Mahomes versus Josh Allen. I don't know how many of you saw Josh Allen just looked utterly defeated. Mahomes is now 0-4. Sorry, Mahomes is 4-0 against Josh Allen. Josh Allen 0-4. This is from Adam Schefter. In 9 matchups between the Chiefs and the Bills, between Mahomes and Josh Allen, Mahomes' team has outscored Josh Allen's team 245 to 240. People are going to rip on Josh Allen for not getting past Patrick Mahomes. I would submit to you, there's not a lot more Josh Allen's team could do against Patrick Mahomes on the offensive side of the ball. 9 games, he's been outscored by 5 total points, 245 to 240. Another stat for you. Teams that have had 4 touchdowns or more and 0 turnovers are 21-2 in the playoffs since 2020. Let me repeat that. Teams with 4 or more touchdowns, 0 turnovers, are 21-2 since 2020. Both of those losses, the Chiefs beating the Bills. 2024, the game that we saw last night, and 2021, the Bills at the Chiefs in the divisional round playoffs. I don't know how much more Josh Allen could do, frankly. I just said 245 to 240. He's beaten him in the regular season. I think the most rational take you can have here, again, this circles back to Mahomes is on a Jordan-like run right now. Jordan would have won 8 straight titles, won 6, set out 2 seasons. I know he came back for the postseason of one of those. They lost to the Wizards. I get it. That wasn't really when Jordan came back 45. They tried to steal it. For seasons that Michael Jordan played, they were unbeatable. This is a Jordan-like run for Patrick Mahomes. 7 years, 5 Super Bowls, 2 AFC Championship overtime losses. We've never seen anything like this. So, Mahomes is Jordan, is my big takeaway there. Okay, couple of other things that are out there. I want to hit this. We've got audio. Well, let me pause for a moment before I get there. Stephen A. Smith went on Bill Maher and said that all Trump is doing is implementing common sense. That Bill Maher show comes out of L.A. I don't know how many of you saw Trump walking through the Las Vegas Circa Casino and everybody cheering. I don't know how many of you saw Trump sitting next to Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. But I think it all ties in with why I think Trump is having such success out of the gate as we enter week 2. Most Trump positions would have been considered common sense a decade ago. Taking people who commit violent crimes and deporting them to the country that they are from when they are here illegally shouldn't be, in my opinion, a Democrat, Republican, or independent position. It should be one that we all adopt. And I'm going to talk about this in the context of Selena Gomez in a moment, but Trump is at his best when he's out on the road. I thought he did a fabulous job in North Carolina, interacting with people still dealing with the fallout of Hurricane Helene. Then he traveled all the way across the country and he went to L.A. and he sat on a round table after meeting with L.A. Fire victims for the earlier part of the day. And he sat there with Karen Bass and he actually advocated better for the people who've lost their homes than many of the people who voted for Karen Bass and Kamala Harris. And how did he do that? By saying, let people start to clean up their lots right now. The homes are burned. They're not in any danger. Let's get the process of the rebuilding starting. Let's not make it wait weeks, months, or God forbid years for people to be able to rebuild their homes in LA. Let people go to work and get the government out of the way. And I didn't just think this tied in with Trump. This is why Trump's doing such a good job. And I know some of you out there are like, because I see it in the comments. I went and read after I shared this video. Well, this is what people in LA get when they vote for Karen Bass and Kamala Harris. You're right. It's probably a 70 or 80% Kamala Harris, Karen Bass voting neighborhood. But Trump's not the president of only people who voted for him. The way you win is by convincing people that they made a poor choice and they should have made a better choice. In 2016, 65 million people voted for Donald Trump. By 2024, it was 77 million. A lot of people, I guarantee you, in the last couple of days have been texting and sharing that video of Trump. And they're asking themselves, wait a minute, why is Donald Trump a better advocate for me being able to rebuild my home than Karen Bass, the mayor that I voted for? It's because Trump doesn't have a government mindset. This is important. Government often comes up with reasons why it can't do something. This is why I couldn't be a government employee. I'm being honest with you guys. And some of the people at OutKick will attest to this. I'm incredibly impatient. And when I know a good decision should be made and it can't be made, and I think we're moving too slowly, it's incredibly frustrating to me. And I'm fortunate. I get to do this show and say exactly what I think. I get to do Clay and Buck. I get to do Fox News. I can talk to people, bigger audience of people than almost anybody in media in America today. When you think about OutKick, when you think about OutKick the show, when you think about Clay and Buck, and you think about Fox News. So I feel incredibly fortunate to be able to talk to the audience that I do every single day. And I thank you guys for watching and listening and consuming our content. But I want us to be better. And I get frustrated when I know there are solutions that would make us better and we don't just do it. That's why I liked running my company. You come to me with an idea, I'm going to make it happen. That's the way Trump thinks. And he doesn't like bureaucracy, and he doesn't like meetings, and he doesn't like sitting around listening to bureaucrats explain why people can't clean up their burned out homes. He just wants to start the cleanup process. That is an entrepreneurial, business-backed decision-making that is the opposite of how government works. One of my favorite quotes, perfect is the enemy of good. If you're in business and you have an option to do something good, you should do it. You shouldn't wait around waiting for something to be perfect. I hate meetings. I hate sitting around talking about what could be done. I just want to fucking do it. And I think there are a lot of people in LA that are super frustrated with the political response to their fires. The fact that the firemen can't put out the fires, the fact that now that the fires have stopped burning, they can't go and start the cleanup process, the fact that they can't get the ability to start the rebuild because the permitting and process place to build in Los Angeles takes too long. The government gets in the way of good people doing good things. But this is how you win, because I guarantee you a lot of people in LA are seeing that, and they're saying this is common sense. Why is Trump a better advocate for us than others? And I think it ties in with the legacy media, because the legacy media has told them lies. And this is why Trump is at an all-time high in support. And also, I want to play this video because emotion, which used to be the coin of the realm in social media, oh, I'm just going to be upset and I'm going to cry, right? This is Selena Gomez recording herself. My team at Clay and Buck looked this up. They said Selena Gomez's mom is Italian. Her dad is second generation from Mexico. So she is third generation from Mexico. Pretty good amount of time, right? She's lived her entire life in the United States. And she is crying because she says people like her are being kicked out of the country. She has no idea what she's talking about, but this is the kind of thing that goes viral and has gone viral for much of the last decade. Listen.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
Now, she has since deleted this video that we just played for you. That's Selena Gomez. I'm going to be honest with you. I know nothing about Selena Gomez. I'm confident she's a moron based on that video that we just played. Because all Trump is doing right now is deporting violent criminals who have committed crimes here. I didn't see Selena Gomez make a video crying for Laken Riley's death. I didn't see her crying for Jocelyn Nungary or any other of the many people who have been killed in this country by illegal immigrants. Again, guys, Democrat, Republican, Independent. I have voted Democrat. I have voted Republican. I never voted for a Republican until Trump in 20, and of course in Trump in 24. I voted Libertarian. I'm not telling you how you should vote. You are wide open to make whatever choice you want. I will say this. How is it a political opinion that people who commit crimes of violence against Americans should be evicted from our country and sit back to the country that they came from? Like, sometimes I think I take crazy pills, and I think, again, we're winning these arguments over time. It takes convincing people that your arguments are better than theirs, and it takes not censoring opinions. All Trump is doing is what every president in the United States, Democrat and Republican, did until a few years ago. Take people who commit violent crimes and send them back to their countries. And he's doing it in a way that moves fast and occasionally breaks things. I could barely keep up. Columbia, the country, not the university, or the state capital in Missouri and South Carolina. Columbia said, we're not going to take back our illegal immigrants that have committed crimes. The president of Columbia said no. Trump said, okay, I'm going to immediately put in place 25% tariffs on all Colombian goods that will accelerate to 50%. I'm going to stop Colombians from being able to travel to the country legally. And that's going to happen until you take back the illegal immigrants that we are deporting from this country and sending back to your country. Within an hour, Colombia's president had bent the knee and acknowledged that he would accept back these illegal immigrants. This was, again, this is not a revolutionary idea. It's not even a Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian idea. It's just a common sense idea for people who believe, as I do, that we should have fewer criminal, illegal immigrants in the country preying upon Americans. Now, some people respond and say, well, immigrants commit crime at lower rates than native-born. Okay, like, first of all, I'm not sure that's true, but let's presume that that argument is true. We should have lower crime everywhere. The difference is we haven't been able to stop all American citizens from committing crimes. But we should be able to stop all illegal immigrants from committing crimes because they should never be here. Less violent crime is a good thing. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent, why would we not take violent criminals out of the country and make it the case that there is less violent crime? It's a no-brainer. Tom Homan has already fired back at Selena Gomez. Good for him. But I hope that people have spines, Democrat, Republicans, and independents with functional brains, and don't allow emotional videos like these to tear us away from the truth, which is violent, illegal criminals have no right to be in this country, and we should get rid of every single one of them, period, which is what the majority of good people in America now believe. Now, I want to close with this video, and I'm going to star a couple of things. Now, I'll also hit this one because I do think it's significant. I want to talk about, you know what, Haley, if she's watching, grab Stephen A. from the Bill Maher Show for tomorrow's show so I can react in further detail to what he said there. But I want to play this for you. I believe this is Margaret Brennan from Face the Nation on CBS sitting down for an interview with Vice President J.D. Vance. And she is trying to argue the federal government needs to be more involved because people, and she specifically names these states, if we've got the right clip, which I believe we do, people in Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi are not smart enough to be able to take care of themselves. They lack the sophistication in the wake of natural disasters, and they need the federal government to protect them. I just want you to hear the arrogance dripping from this question from Margaret Brennan. Listen.
You know, FEMA has specialized expertise that some of these states just don't have.
Oh,
and
Margaret,
in their arsenal. And
I wish
how
that they
will states who are who are lower income states, the Mississippis, the Kentuckys, the Alabamas, be able to do this for themselves without federal help?
Well, the president, to be clear, is not saying we're going to leave anybody behind. He's saying that in the way that we administer these resources, some of which is coming from the federal level, some of which is coming from the state level, we've got to get the bureaucrats out of the way and get the aid to the people who need it most.
But these are the
Okay, good answer from J.D. Vance, but I just want to hammer the premise of the question from Margaret Brennan directly here. I trust the people of Kentucky, Mississippi, and Alabama that she called out as being too poor and too dumb to help themselves way more than I do federal government bureaucrats. And we talk a lot about diversity, right? This is the obsession of the left. Margaret Brennan must have nobody from any of those states on her staff. Because if she did, she wouldn't be looking down her nose at the people of Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, saying they're incompetent and too poor to be able to take care of themselves, and they need the federal government to help be the daddy to take care of them because they're children that are unable to take care of themselves, basically, due to their poverty and lack of abilities. Shame on Margaret Brennan. I think she's an imbecile. I think J.D. Vance dunked all over her throughout the course of that entire interview. But trust me, I live right here in Tennessee. My dad's family is all from Kentucky. They came down here to work at DuPont in the DuPont factory at Old Hickory, Tennessee. That's how I ended up in the Nashville area. My mom's family, many of them are from Alabama. She was born in Birmingham. They ended up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is how my parents met in the state of Tennessee. So she's, Margaret Brennan, directly attacking my dad's family and my mom's family. And she's doing it in a way that demeans the people who live there. Look, I trust a redneck with a chainsaw and a truck a lot more to help me when I need help than I do any bureaucrat at FEMA. I don't know how many of you saw the video in Western North Carolina of FEMA with the cleanup crew passing one log to like 25 different people until it got into a pile. I guarantee you this. The people doing the best job in North Carolina don't work for the federal government. The people doing the best job in general responding to disaster don't work for the federal government either. They're just good-hearted, hardworking, tough people all over the country. But in particular, to be singling out Alabama, Kentucky, and Mississippi and saying the people there are too poor to be able to take care of themselves is every reason why the legacy media is collapsing. I'm glad that J.D. Vance dunked on Margaret Brennan for the entire interview. I will also point out Margaret Brennan's job isn't to combat someone and argue against them. That's what politicians are for. Her job is to ask questions and get answers. She sees herself, though, as a Democrat operative. Unfortunately for her, J.D. Vance, whose family is from Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio, I believe, is a lot smarter than she is. I think he could have handled that question a little bit better and dunked on her even harder. But shame on her, shame on her staff, shame on CBS News. The people of Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi are way smarter and way better than the people who work at CBS News. I'll guarantee you that. Finally, do we have one more thing I want to talk about? I may talk about this tomorrow a little bit. I want to do a little bit more research. I have not talked. Some of you have said, Clay, why haven't you talked about the University of Florida basketball coach, Todd Golden, and the allegations that came out against him? I don't think we have covered this aggressively at OutKick. I certainly have not talked about it very much. I am incredibly skeptical of allegations in general, particularly in a post-Me Too era that have to do with inappropriate behavior. You have heard me. I defended Mel Tucker to the end of the earth in the Michigan State case, and I didn't really dive into this Todd Golden case. Everyone demanded that he be fired based on these allegations. And according to the statement of the Florida Gator Title IX investigators and also of Todd Golden's agent, investigations occurred and he did nothing wrong. So as more evidence comes out, I may dive into it anew. But let me just reiterate something that I have said for some time. When you are a man, and it's almost always a man, and somebody comes out and accuses you of something improper, almost always that person's name remains anonymous. Your name gets dragged through the mud almost immediately. And I believe we need a system in place. If we are going to argue that in cases of rape, it is so destructive to the person who was raped, to their public persona, that we need rape shield laws so their names are never mentioned publicly, why is every man that's accused of something immediately named publicly, and the accuser oftentimes never has her name ever made public? If we are of the opinion that it is so awful for a rape victim to have her name go public, why is it also not just as bad for somebody to be falsely accused of rape, sexual assault, or sexual impropriety on the job? A lot of people are never going to go back and do the research on Todd Golden. They're just going to believe, because they saw a headline, that he did something wrong. And the follow-up story that proves that we didn't do anything wrong at all in a case like this never gets as much attention as the initial accusation. So I have two legitimately, I think, really interesting public policy questions. One, why does the guy's name come out? Why can we not also have a rape shield accusation law so that the person who is accused doesn't have to deal with the accusation being accepted as fact? That's one. Two, in cases where it is proven that the accuser lied, why does the accuser not face any consequences? This is a completely unbalanced playing field. What I have said in cases of rape is the individual who alleges rape and is found to not be telling the truth should, in my opinion, face the exact same consequences as the man she accused of rape. It's usually always a man, right? Could be vice versa. We have unequal playing fields. If you falsely accuse someone of rape, you should be charged with a crime of making that false charge, and you should face the same amount of time in prison as the individual that you accused. That seems like common sense to me. In other words, a mirroring, a mutuality of analysis there. And in these cases like the Title IX case, Todd Golden can never get his full name back, and it appears he did nothing wrong. What is the resolution that is a viable and honest and fair and just result for he and his family? I don't know that there is one. It's great to be vindicated and people say, actually, you did nothing wrong at all. But you know what's better than that? Never being accused in the first place of ever doing anything wrong at all, because a lot of people associate your name then with a cloud. And based on this evidence, I hope the same people who treated the Todd Golden accusations as a big, massive, significant story will also now trumpet even louder the fact that he, according to the investigation and his own lawyers, did absolutely nothing wrong at all. All right. I love all of you. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP, I will be with you live tomorrow, breaking down all the stories and more. Also, I'm headed up to New York this weekend. I'm supposed to be hosting Fox and Friends AM. It's going to be a fun weekend trip, just kind of a fun new challenge. Haven't done a 4-hour show before live on the air, so I'll be doing that on Saturday, Sunday. Should be a good time, but I'm here with you guys for the most of the week. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP, this has been OutKick, the show.